Welcome back, guys. Will Robinson here from Robinson's Auto Tools and Time.com. Back today with this 2015 GMC Canyon V6 3.6 with the customer complaint that he had it at the dealership prior to bringing it to me. They did a tune-up and the truck has not been running right ever since. We went in there last time, if you recall. I'll leave a link in the description if you haven't seen part one. We found that we had a misfire at idle and we were monitoring that with the scan data and it was showing number 6. We pulled out cylinder number 6 and we found a spark plug with the gap essentially closed. That took care of our misfire at idle. We then proceeded on to the cylinders that we could get in a timely manner before the holiday set in, and we found also cylinder number 4 had a different type of plug in there, the correct plug that belongs to the vehicle, but different than the rest that we were able to gain access to. So that's usually a sign that somebody's been in there trying to correct this problem already, and now we have it on our plate. After those repairs, we did notice that there is another misfire under a load, and it's coming from cylinder number 1. And I'm gonna hook up the scan data. I'm gonna show you the prior misfire counters. We wouldn't even have to take it for a ride this time because there is some history stored in there. And what I'm gonna show you is a pretty handy tool, thinkscan SD. It's the SD6, and it's a quick scan tool, code reader. Data link is located right here on this one. Let's go right to ignition data. That'll be nice. Pretty sure I've seen it underneath here. Did I go by it? All right, maybe I was moving a little too fast. Let's go back. Oh, misfire data. Abracadabra. That's nice and categorized for us. All right. Cylinder 1 misfire. So, that's the current counter. So if we bring that up, we can monitor the current counts. But look at this, it has the history counts. I thought that was pretty cool. We're not gonna run the vehicle right now because I'm gonna start working on it. But I just wanna show you, I wanna go to the history of each one. And there you go. Instead of going and getting this vehicle hot, there's really no need for it because I can see where my misfires are coming from. Cylinder number 1, misfire history, 428 misfires took place. But as you can see, this is most likely causing the number 2, maybe. Number 2 is one that we already took care of. But if you remember, that is the one I put the coil onto off of number 6. However, I'm gonna ignore that one for now, and we're gonna go after cylinder number 1 because we know we have not visited that yet. All right, guys, you see me go through most of this last time, so we're gonna keep it pretty simple. I got this torque drive here. As you know, the rest of them are essentially missing in action. Got the regular screwdriver. And just clamp here. Grab that in a second. I'm just gonna start taking this cover off. Now we gotta get to the intake. It's a little hard to see, but there's a clamp. Put together a few extensions, make it nice and long. 8mm on a swivel. There's usually another retaining screw here. I'll leave another one in the back. They're missing, they're broken. Oil cap. We are on our way. We're gonna start pulling this intake off. As you know, cylinder 1's over here and we can't get to it at the moment prior to removing this manifold. And I'm anxious to see what we're gonna find. I really am. Alrighty, we're gonna, as you can see, some things were just popped apart.
Here, one in the back. We will find out shortly if anybody has been here.
That's funny. I just noticed they have like looks like it's supposed to be a pressure washer. Looks like a grill lighter more than a pressure washer, but woo, making progress. All right, we got a couple breather tubes here. You can see those down here. I think it looks like we'll be able to turn this enough to get her out of its current situation. It's hard to see anything, but I don't like how much that moves around. So I'm gonna unplug it and all. I'm gonna also be mindful of that when I take this off, because I want to see what's going on here. Maybe I'll zip that off real quick. At this point, we got to eliminate everything, any possibility. Gotta go over everything that was touched, make sure nothing was broken, leaks and whatnot. We'd have some kind of other code. So I'm thinking this is just fine. It just felt, okay, yeah, it just felt weird, but you can see it's okay. All right, 2 10mm retaining bolts are out. There you go. Oh boy. Boy, oh boy. So I'll let you be the verdict. Does that coil look like it was ever touched? That gasket looked like it was ever replaced. I don't know. It's hard to see it now, but I just have trouble believing that that dust is only a couple weeks old. So you can see where I worked on the other ones. That one was underneath the manifold as well, but you could easily see my fingerprints on it that I attempted to take it out. I don't know. You think it got that kind of accumulation in a couple weeks? Or a month? Or however long it's been? I kind of have trouble believing that. I'll even try not to make anything dirty or clean anything in the process, but I mean, just touching this clip is going to evidently clean it off. And of course, what I will do, in case it's a coil problem, I'll relocate this coil to one that we can replace. But at this point, you would think somebody would have to grab a hold of somewhere on that coil to pull it up out of that hole. I am going to attempt to pull it up out of that hole without touching anywhere else on it, just for the glory of this video. I don't know. Ooh. Put something over that intake holes. I want to cover those intake holes up here shortly, but curiosity is getting the best of me, so. I don't know what that is on that plug. This one could have been changed. I can't tell. It looks like the platinum part was pretty much burned away. I know it's hard to see it, but the gap doesn't look terrible. It is an OEM style plug. It's the same number we pulled out of the other one, so I guess I can't guarantee if it's been changed or not. It's hard to tell. It doesn't look like it was, but no surprises. No surprises. Let's pop this next one off. This one, you know that I attempted to take out, but I couldn't quite squeeze her out. I don't have an intake gasket for it currently, so I'm definitely putting a new intake gasket on it while I have it apart. At least then we could at least start root causing if it is something else. If it's a different misfire, because this, you know, we're going off of our last findings and trying to get a good baseline, you know what I mean, to start our troubleshooting. We do the previous work. Yeah, it's so hard to tell. You know, somebody could have been there. I hate throwing anybody under the bus or doubting something that potentially, oh, frig. I tell you, the other ones were not that tight, but we personally did the rest of the plugs, so we know those are good. Man, I wish I had one of the other plugs that I pulled out of cylinder number 2 or something that was in good shape. Well, maybe. Unless that was on there from the factory. Looking at these 2 plugs they pulled out, it's hard to really tell. I mean, they look like they've been in there for a while. This thing was probably definitely tuned up once before. If it wasn't done the last time. So I wouldn't think that's 100,000, well, 90,000 miles. I would think I would see a little bit more, but then again, they don't look brand new, I can tell you that, but that's not for me to decide. So I think what I'm going to do is take cylinder number 5 coil and put it where number 1 is. Put number 1's coil in number 5. If our misfire moves, then we know we could get to that coil easily without removing anything. If our misfire is good, then we know we had something breaking down in that plug or whatnot. Not so obvious this time. I don't know, you guys make that judgment. Sometimes I look to see if I have any witness marks. I really think, I'm telling you, let me see something. You know how I was showing you that mark that was on the side of that spark plug? Let me see if I can get you guys to look at that trace mark that's inside that boot. I wonder if that lined up. You see it right there? It's almost burnt into that boot. I wonder if that lined up with that burn mark on the side of that spark plug. And it was taking that path down to the path of least resistance down to the plug. I don't know what kind of grease they used in there either, but if you ask me, that's an arc trace. What do you guys think? Looks beautiful. It's like one of those things. Do I go buy a coil? Because I can't replace that boot. Let's see if I can find my 10mm socket. See, I talked about dropping my 10mm socket, and I dropped my 10mm socket down the back, trying to get, you can see now, there's this bracket that has two bolts there. It goes on top of the manifold, so the manifold kind of slides underneath it. It's a little bit of a bear to get them out. I have no previous misfires on cylinder 5, so I'm not too concerned about this one. We'll visually inspect her anyhow. Then again, when it was somewhere else to be repaired like this, you don't know, what is that grease that they used in there? Is it some kind of conductive grease that's tracking down the porcelain? It's the old cylinder 5 coil. We're gonna put that bad boy in there like so. I'll get as far as I can tonight until I get the gasket tomorrow, and then we'll see what we got. As you see, it's really not that big of a deal to change these proper. And I have the one we pulled out of cylinder number 1. I'm gonna see if I clean that out really good. You can't really replace the boots on these. New grease applied inside, just like the other ones. Number 3 coil, that didn't have a misfire, so I can put that one back in its home. These type of things will always come around to haunt you. So whenever you feel something isn't right, just like a lot of you guys said in the comments, something isn't right. Just follow that instinct and try to convince the customer to follow through the rest of the way, maybe. But like I said, over the holidays, I had a lot of plans, and there was just so much going on. He would have been a week without his vehicle, to be honest with you, just to do what I just did now. But we're here today, and we're going to do the best we can to resolve his issue. At least now we know we did the best to our ability to redo whatever they did. So, it's enough babbling on for tonight. I'm gonna fish out my tools here that I dropped so far and wait till I get a gasket. All right, I just wanted to go over one more thing that I noticed. I took notice, and maybe you guys noticed as well. As I was removing those coils, it seemed like there was an excessive amount of grease. Was it dielectric grease? I don't know. But an excessive amount. What I mean with an excessive amount is you only need a light coating in around that boot. At least that's the way I was taught, and maybe a little bit on the contact points, because it's a non-conductive grease. If they used a dielectric grease and say they just packed it in there, is there a chance that that could have been causing the arc to try to find another path to ground because there was just so much grease inside? And I'm not sure if, I'm gonna grab a drop light. Maybe it won't, but I hope it does, because that grease is just packed inside these coils, and every coil was like that. And I noticed that on the other bank as well that we did last time, and I cleaned them out just in case you weren't able to see down in there. And on some of this, I'm getting like globs. I mean, like a lot of this thick, pasty grease out of these coils. So I'm gonna, in an attempt to do the best I can for this customer, I'm gonna clean them out the best as I can, because there's not really too much that dissolves. This style of grease that I feel safe spraying down in there to clean it out. And these are all sealed boots, and I really don't want to go messing that up. But I also don't want to have him spending too much money on replacements and whatnot if it's simply a fact of cleaning them out and they were over greased and we were fighting a path to ground other than through the plug. So is this a chance that we could have a couple compiling different problems where maybe the technicians, or if this was done prior from a home repair or whatnot, is there another, maybe there's some training that needs to take place? I'm not trying to bash anybody. I'm just trying to help this customer get to the root cause, and I think everybody deserves a fair shot. And not thrown under the bus at every given moment. But it does seem like it's a little excessive, if you ask me. Let me know what your guys' opinions are on that. Yeah, we have quite a bit of carbon deposits already. I guess it's a little hard to see down in there, but you can already see the carbon deposits building up. A lot of times you have this problem with direct injection. This is the gasket we pulled off. We're going to be using the Velcro in its place. I guess it's called the D shape. I guess they have an oval shape as well, but this is the big D. It should fall into place for us. It should be like a, there it is, like little locating tabs in the bottom that fall in. On the back side of the manifold, you have these two retaining bolts. They go through a bracket that's in the back. So you gotta kind of tilt this down, go under that without damaging the gasket. And I don't want the bolts to drag across the gasket. And when these are through, they're hanging out the bottom. So I'd much rather get the intake in place and then put the bolts in. There you go. Well, let's redo that thought. Unfortunately, the thought was good. So, and this one here, like I said, I could get in. So, hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, so essentially you'll see me going through all that. That's just the basic stuff. Main thing I wanted to find here was the sequence and 18 foot-pounds, and wants us to do 2 passes in the same sequence. So I like to snug them down in the sequence as I'm working my way up to 18 foot-pounds. And then once we go through it once, it wants us to go back over it. Pretty straightforward there. Like I said, I'm just going to snug them down in that order.
Now we should get pretty close, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Now we have them 2 bolts all the way in the back. Okay, we're good. All right, just trying to find the angles that work the best for you guys. Remember, that wasn't necessary to pull off. I pulled that off simply because it just felt weird. I wanted to make sure nothing was broken. Just gonna spin these back on, front and back. Once we get everything back on. Oh, I gotta take that oil cap back off. It's not that bad. I think we're in lock flint. Like I mentioned earlier, I got a long extension swivel, 8mm. Let's get in there, and it's important that you get this in and tight. As you can see, our mass airflow sensor's here. And you don't want to have unmetered air past this point. First start, see what she does. Sounds good so far. It's cold in here, it's cold in the shop. The vehicle's cold. But I think it sounds better. Alright guys, we're getting closer, getting up to operating temperature. I'm still in the shop. So I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna clear fault codes. I'm gonna do a key cycle. I don't know if I should reinitiate a system scan. I'm gonna, just in case I knock something off. Alright, no trouble codes right now. So far everything's going good. Put a few miles on it now. Monitoring the misfires. And we have 0 counts so far. Turn around and head back to the shop. much done with my test drive. I apologize for any glare, but I do want to go in there and see if we have any history on our misfires that we might have missed during our test drive. And luckily for this, we have that option. All right, so here we are. As you can see, prior we had a lot of history data. Now we are showing good. So I believe we got it. All right, well, there you have it, guys. Well, hopefully we accomplished what we needed to. At least at the very least, we went in there and he's got a good baseline. We went in, redid everything that he had concerns about, found some additional things that may or may not have been leading to his problem. However, at this point, he's got to drive it, monitor it, and let us know. One thing I'll make him aware of is that we moved cylinder 1 coil to cylinder 5, so it's easier to get to in case those misfires damaged the coil. Same thing with number 6 was moved to number 2. So those are the things that we have to keep in mind. So if it comes back and he has a random misfire on cylinder number 5 per se, we know that we took cylinder 1 that was previously misfiring and moved it to cylinder number 5. So at that point, take that coil, throw it in the trash, put a new one on. And the same thing with 6 and 2. And if you had any complaints that initiated the tune-up, well, they're still going to be there. Because unfortunately, this is, as far as I could troubleshoot, we had to get the vehicle back to good running condition prior to making any other calls and monitoring any other symptoms that he may have had. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, stay tuned.